We should not hang up, okay?
Okay. I'm waiting for somebody to get on the phone.
Okay, hello?
I'm here.
Eric? Okay, this is Erica Spencer on the other line, and Teresa Becerra, the attorney, on the other line, and me, Maria Solis.
Hi, Erica. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm getting this 10-day notice ready so Maria can serve it today. But I want to make sure we get the facts right, because if we don't have the facts right, the judge could throw out the entire case if we end up going to court. So we pull up the notice. So the way I had it written and how I understood from your email was that it was Mr. Carbajal and two females who were on the street that were being aggressive and assaulting you. But in your emails just now with Maria, it sounded like you were saying there were actually three women.
So no, I'm not contradicting. So Gabriel approaches. Well, actually, one of the daughters, whose name I don't know, and that's what I was stating. There's two other females besides the one whose name I know, Jacqueline. She had on the shorts that had holes and they were ripped up. And I don't know if you saw that in the video, though. I don't think that was in the video, but I met her in the laundry room. That's the only reason why I know her name, because she was making a lot of noise. And so earlier in the day, I just asked her if she could please keep the noise level down, and so she happened to tell me her name. So other than that, before I crossed the street, and this is when Gabriel then runs in front of me to block my path. It looks like it could have been Bernice. That's what I was stating in that email, if that wasn't clear. It looks like it could have been Bernice, but I do think that they kind of resemble each other, in my opinion. And there were two other females besides Jacqueline. I know her name and I know who Gabriel is. And I know who the mom is, but the mom stayed up by the sidewalk on her phone. So these two other females, very likely, that's what I mean. It very likely could have been Bernice, and I believe I forgot the name of the other person, but that's what I mean by that. But the only person that put their hands on me in the video, you see Gabrielle. But as I described to Heather of Human Resources and my other manager, Dawn, Jacqueline, she followed me across the street after Gabriel attacked me. And she chased me across the street, and she got in my face, and she continued to yell. And then she grabbed my wrist after I asked her to get out of my face. She grabbed my right wrist. So that was another battery and an assault. And she had to follow me across the street to do that. So the first female, which I'm assuming that, though. I don't know whether those are actually his daughters. It's more than likely his daughters, because they would live there. They were probably in the apartment, but I don't know that. So I'm going to be clear. I don't know for a fact if those were his daughters, but I know that Jacqueline is his daughter, and I know her name.
You're going really fast. Let's back up. Let me make sure I got this right.
Okay.
So Mr. Carbajal and at least Jacqueline attacked you, right?
Mr. Carbajal, say that again.
Mr. Carbajal, Gabriel, and at least Jacqueline are the ones that physically attacked you.
Yes.
And you're saying that there were at least two other females that you think were his daughters also present?
Yes, also present.
So a total of four people.
Gabriel, his wife, Jacqueline, and the two other, that would be a total of five people.
I'm not talking about the wife, because the wife wasn't part of the match. She was
then
up
yes.
The street.
Four, yes.
And you were confronted by four people.
I was confronted. The other daughter that stayed at the entrance of the apartments, she did not confront me. While I was walking back toward my apartment, and they were remaining at the entrance area, like they were like pacing around the entrance, so that I had to like walk past them. She didn't confront me, like walk up to me. She walked past me. She's yelling and cussing while she's doing so. But she stayed at the entrance.
Go
ahead.
The assault happened down the street from the entrance, right?
Correct.
Kind of across the street from that corner where Brendan and Alvarado meet.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And then so at that location where that assault happened, were there 3 people or 4 people that confronted you? Just
Down the street.
right.
So down the street, first it's the daughter that asks, well, she doesn't ask me a question. She accuses me. I cross the street. Gabriel then attacks me. And then I cross the street again back to the opposite side. And Jacqueline attacks me.
Okay, so you were on the property side of the street, and Jacqueline confronts you and is yelling at you, why did you take pictures of my car?
Nope, I was on the opposite side of the street at 17th Street in Alvarado on the opposite side.
There is no 17th Street. What are you referring to as 17th Street? Is
It's
that Brendan?
No, that's the opposite end. There's a cross street when you go down beyond the entrance of the apartment. And it's 17th Street in Alvarado.
I looked at a map. There's no 17th Street there. There's Brendan. There's Aaron. What's the property address?
1800 North Alvarado Street.
Yeah, I'm looking at a map, and there's only Brendan, Aaron, Berkeley, Delta, and then you get down to where Glendale Boulevard is.
No, it's not Brandon. That's the opposite direction. Where the hill is.
What do you mean opposite direction?
Because I didn't walk toward, meaning I didn't walk toward Brandon, so it's the opposite of the direction of Brandon. I'm looking at.
And you were walking uphill?
No, I was walking downhill. That's what I'm saying.
Going in the opposite direction from Brendan, that's uphill.
Brandon. Let me look at this map.
Brendan is south downhill of the entrance. And Clifford is uphill from there.
Oh, okay, I see. I'm looking at the map. I see what you mean, kind of. But Brandon is that not going uphill? It looks like on this map, it looks like it's going uphill. That's why I said that.
Brandon's down.
So Aaron is the street where the is this the street where there are a traffic signal? Yeah, that's the traffic signal. No, it's not that street. I wasn't at Aaron. It was before. It's not Brandon. Mm-mm. So I want to say that it's 17th Street.
I know, but I'm telling you, there's no 17th Street. I don't know what you're referring to when you say 17th Street. There's no 17th Street around the property.
Huh. 17th Street. Well, then it must be, I guess it's Brandon, if that's the nearest intersection outside of the property entrance.
That is the nearest downhill entrance.
Downhill entrance,
Street.
Okay, because it's not uphill.
Yeah.
Okay, then that must be it, because I can't see it on this map. I'm not looking at Google Maps. I'm looking at the wrong map. Let me look at Google Maps. It would be the nearest downhill cross street. So I don't know why I'm thinking 17th Street, but perhaps that's I'm misremembering, and so it would be the nearest one. I did not go beyond the first cross street going downhill.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah. So you were on the opposite side of the street.
Correct.
Near the corner of Brandon and Alvarado.
Mm-hmm.
Jacqueline goes up to you and starts yelling at you, why are you taking pictures of my car? You tell her you weren't. You cross the street to the property side of the street.
So actually they were yelling behind me. I heard yelling and I heard like expletives, but I didn't respond to it because I'm not going to assume that somebody's yelling at me like that. And I'm taking a walk. I was walking downward toward, I guess it's Brandon. And when I crossed the street and I started walking to cross the street to go on the property side at Brandon, but before I crossed the street, that's when one of the daughters, I'm assuming it looks like Bernice, it looks like it could be her. she assumes, why did you, she wasn't yelling at that point. She approached me at the cross street and assumed, and made that statement, why are you taking pictures of my car? And I'm not.
So it was, okay, stop. So it wasn't Jacqueline that came up to you.
No.
It was a different daughter.
It was a different daughter. Assuming it was a daughter.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The car was parked down the street.
I don't know where her car was parked. When she stopped me, I was not around a car.
Okay. So then, okay. Okay. Then, so you crossed the street to the property side of Alvarado, and then what happened?
When I crossed the street, I'm hearing, when I walked away from that female, then I hear Gabriel yelling. I didn't know that it was Gabriel at that point. I heard a male's voice yelling, and I heard cussing, and then I heard feet like quickly coming toward me, and that's when I started recording. And because they were sound like they were coming toward me yelling, and that's when he gets in front of me and blocks my path, and you can see it on video that he's attacking me, and then he says for me to not touch him.
Was he coming from the uphill side?
Yes. Yes.
Um, okay. And then what happened?
What you see on video is a physical attack, and also.
Wait a minute. At this point, I don't want you to tell me about the video. I want you to tell me what happened.
Okay.
Did Bernice follow you from across the street?
No, I didn't see anybody follow me as I crossed the street. This is when I crossed the street and I began continually walking downhill. So I guess that's Brandon. So I continued walking downhill from that intersection, and
Wait. You crossed the street and then what? You started walking downhill again?
I continue walking
down Alvarado.
Downhill. Yes, at the intersection, Brandon. I'm assuming if that's Brandon, then that's Brandon. That's where I was at, and I was walking downhill from Brandon. And this is when I hear
down Alvarado.
Brandon
down
and Alvarado,
right?
On Alvarado Street, on the property side, correct.
Okay.
And so then I hear yelling, I hear cussing, and then I just hear running toward me, like quickly coming toward me, and I start recording video. And when I start recording video and I continue to walk, Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal comes in front of me and blocks my path to stop me from walking. And then he immediately starts trying to take my phone from me. I'm holding things in both of my hands. I'm holding my phone, and I'm also clutching my cup. And I also have some papers in my hands. So both of my hands are full. And he immediately tries to first take my phone out of my hand, which was in my left hand.
Okay, hold on. As he approached you, did he touch you as he was behind you,
No,
Or did he run up in front of
not
you?
as he was behind me. He got in front of me and then immediately began touching me unlawfully. He tries to take my phone and he's hitting my arm. Well, he's grabbing on my arm and trying to take my phone at the same time. This is then after he can't take my phone, then he begins pulling on my hair. And this causes my hat to come off of my head. And this causes me to drop.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I don't want you to go so fast. I need to get this all down.
No,
Okay,
I'm
give me a
not
second.
flipping out. I'm making sure I can specifically tell you what he did.
Okay, just hold on. Hold on.
Teresa, should I include Donna in this call or no?
Flipping out. This is this is audible activity creation in concert with LAPD, who's monitoring, and Teresa Becerra describing a physical attack that I'm reciting to her, and describing it as flipping out, and LAPD is doing this. P.O.C. This is what they're repeatedly doing, flying over. Teresa Becerra is a group stalker. This is audible activity. This is audible activity creation, and they're pacing around monitoring in concert. So as he tries to take the phone out of my hand, and he's hitting my heart. He forcibly grabs my arm in order to do so. And the papers that I'm holding are still in my left arm. I drop my cup on the ground, and my hat comes off my head, and my head goes down at a downward trajectory because he's pulling on my hair. And so then he starts to say me to not, he starts making the statement, don't put my effing hands on him, after he's coming and blocking my path and attacking me. So that's when the attack, basically the physical attack, ends, and he starts making like really disturbing comments after he attacked me. And I then crossed the street. And I also crossed the street because my cup was on the ground on the opposite side. So I went to go get my cup. It rolled all the way to the opposite side of the street at the curb. And so while I'm going away, I'm also getting away from him. This is when Jocelyn literally comes behind me and follows me up to the opposite side of the street. And also one of the daughter that asked me the question, well, she didn't ask me a question, that basically stated, why am I taking pictures of her? I see her. She's also coming downhill toward me. She doesn't approach me. Jocelyn is the one that goes all the way across the street to continue confronting me. All right. But both of them were coming toward me after Gabriel attacks me and I cross the street to get away from him. They're both. So the other daughter remains in the street. All right. And Jocelyn comes all the way over to the opposite side of the street. She's yelling at me. She's yelling in my face. I told her to get out of my face. I said, hit me like your father did. And she's denying, my father didn't hit you. I was standing right there. I saw it. You're a liar. And I said, get out of my face. And she remained in my face. And then she grabbed my right wrist. And then she said, okay, I'm sorry. But, and I'm not listening to her. I'm telling her not to touch me. I said, didn't I tell you don't touch me? And she's still staying in my face. And that's the end. And then I bend down to get my cup. And they're not leaving. They're staying like in the street area. They're staying on the sidewalk, and then they begin talking to somebody in a white Jeep Cherokee, pulls up next to them, and it appears that they're like talking to them. Their attention is diverted to this person, but they're staying at the entrance area. They're like walking around in front of the entrance of the apartments. That's what they're doing. And so my arm is, go ahead.
Hold on. I need to back you up. You're going really fast. I need to make sure I'm getting all the facts. So
they're asking me questions that they know the answer to, and they're group stalking in real time with LAPD, who's flying back and forth over my office. Don Nago, Kimberly Fletcher, Maria Solis Alvarez, Selena Robledo engaged in the same conduct. They're going to federal prison for it. Okay, could you repeat specifically what you want me to answer?
You said as you went across the street to get your cup, your daughter Jacqueline came down the street from, and I want to know from where? Where was she?
She came downstairs not downstairs. She came across the street toward me, but she didn't approach me. Jocelyn is the one that approached me. Is that what you're asking about?
When Gabriel was attacking you on the Alvarado side of the street, were the two daughters next to him?
I don't know. I didn't turn around.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where you saw Jacqueline coming at you from when you went
When
to
I,
your cut.
like I stated, I crossed the street and I can see as I'm not keeping my back to them, they've attacked me. I crossed the street to get away from them and I see her behind me coming across the street.
From where? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
From the
Where?
property,
Was she with Gabriel?
from the property side of Alvarado. I don't know where she was. She must have been in a position behind me because she wasn't in front of me.
Okay.
Teresa Becerra is a documented group stalker. She's engaged in audible activity creation. This is criminal facilitation of the state that's pacing around my office right now in helicopter, asking questions that the entity already knows the answer to, and it's monitoring. You said, why is she yelling at me?
What is she yelling at you?
Okay, so I'll repeat. She's yelling that she did not see her dad hit me after I asked her to get out of my face. And I made the statement.
Okay, stop. I want you to go very, very slowly, point by point. You crossed the street, and then what happened?
I crossed the street, and then I see two of the daughters. So I see Jocelyn walking toward me, and while I'm trying to get away to the opposite side, the Brandon side of the intersection, and I see also the daughter, like I stated, she's walking downhill toward me, but she does not cross the street to confront me. Jocelyn continues walking across the street as I...
Stop. Which other daughter? Bernice, the same one that had yelled at you before?
The one that initially confronted me, I'm assuming that's Bernice. The one that initially made this statement, assuming I took a picture of her car. Okay, this is documentation of what is harassment as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This is an entity that's group stalking together. Teresa Becerra is going to federal prison, and she's done with with the legal profession. All right, she's engaged in group stalking. It's audible activity creation. She's engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, and she is also a hostile demon who is asking questions that they know the answer to and making statements such as, "I don't want you freaking out." That's wildly inappropriate and offensive. While she calls herself asking me about what happened when I was physically attacked. By the way, this is actually a demon. I'm sorry. Can you repeat?
You or her?
Can you repeat that question?
So Jacqueline's coming across the street towards you, and then what happened?
Jacqueline's coming across the street toward me, and I'm going after my cup, that my mug that flew, went across the street. So I have to bend down, but I'm not bending down yet because Jacqueline gets in my face immediately. She crosses the street. So to answer your question, she's crossed the street. She confronts me. She gets in my face. She's yelling and cussing, and I tell her to get out of my face first. And then I say, hit me like your dad did. And then she said, my dad didn't hit you. You are an effing liar. I saw it. I was right there. And I told her to get out of my face. Then she proceeds to grab my right wrist. So rather than backing away from me, she comes closer and engages in a battery, grabbing me when I asked her to get out of my face and get away from me.
So she says, her dad didn't hit you. And then what?
The entity is now sounding sirens. This is criminal summoning that Teresa Becerra and Maria Solis, the entity, is engaged in. I don't know. What aspect did you want me to...
She says her dad didn't hit you, and then what?
She said her dad did not hit me. I was standing right there. You're lying. Comments of that nature. And then I said, get out of my face. And then she grabs my right wrist. This is
told her to get out of your face twice.
She's asking me to repeat this is supposed to be an attorney. This is audible activity. I told her I'm sure I said it on more than one occasion. Yes.
And then she grabbed your arm.
The use of sirens in the specific environment is the same entity that's stalking in helicopter, and Teresa Becerra is a third-party group stalker while she's engaged in the elements of monitoring. Then she says, she kind of utters under her breath after she grabs my wrist. She says sorry, but she still stays in my face. Then they don't walk away, but they back up a little bit and they go to the opposite side of the street. That's basically what they do. And they stay on that side. I pick up my mug off the ground. All right. And then they remain.
Hold on. She grabs your arm and then just lets it go and walks away?
Basically, yes. I'll say basically long and short of it. Yeah, she grabs my arm and then I said, I said, I told you not to touch me, is what I said. And then she said, sorry, something to that effect. And it wasn't yelling or anything. She didn't yell, sorry, but it was like an automatic reaction. She said sorry or something. And then I don't recall her staying there. She's crossing back to the opposite side of the street, but they're staying in the middle of the street because there's traffic also that's continuously driving by. And then they're in the street and they remain on the opposite side of the street. And then they're remaining congregated at the entrance of the apartments.
So wait. She let go of your arm, went back across the street, and she was standing on the other side of the street with one of the other daughters and Gabriel, so 3 of them?
No, I saw, well, on the street, to be specific, to answer your question, yes, Jacqueline and this other, I'm assuming the daughter, I'm assuming it's Bernice. Yes, they're on the opposite side of the street. And then as they continue, like they're like lingering in presence. They're not going anywhere. They're just lingering there. And like I said, they started talking to somebody in a white Jeep at the entrance area as they've walked back up toward the street from what I guess that's Brandon and not 17th Street. They walk back up toward the entrance of the property, and they're talking to somebody through the passenger window of their white Jeep. And then that vehicle drives off. And then they remain at the entrance area and they're just walking around. This is when I see Gabriel.
A white Jeep?
Yes.
You said a white Jeep?
Yeah, a white Jeep. Cherokee Jeep. A Jeep.
Okay, hold on.
So I want to make sure that you understand what's underway. They're engaged in criminal summoning. You are a group stalker while you engage in the elements of monitoring. You do not only have, it is not exclusive to being in relevant position like the LAPD is doing. This is criminally facilitating the state surveillance system, and it's an operation of a communication device. This is internet operated. It's in concert and via speaker companies. Okay. And this is through her services as an attorney. Okay. Understand all of that. So as I'm looking at them remaining congregated at the entrance area, they're basically blocking the path. And this is when I see Gabriel's wife. She's clutching her phone. She's studying her phone while she's standing on the sidewalk at the entrance of the property. Gabriel is also remaining in position at the gate.
No, I said, what were you doing?
I'm standing there. I'm walking toward the property.
Okay, so Jacqueline let go, went back across the street to where the other daughter and Gabriel were waiting. Then the 3 of them start walking back up to the entrance, and they're talking to someone in a Jeep. Meanwhile, you're doing what?
Walking back toward the property, not immediately because they're all congregated right there at the entrance, like blocking my path. So
meanwhile, you had picked up your cup.
And I'm in pain. My left arm is hurting from Gabriel attacking my arm and trying to take my phone. So I want to go back to my apartment. I'm walking in that direction, but not really. I have to wait for. They're like blocking the path. They're standing there, and that's what was so also disconcerting. Not just the attack, but their behavior after. They continue to stay there and like stay congregated at the entrance, forcing me to have to walk through them, walk around them, as they remained at the entrance area, talking to somebody in the white Jeep, and then remaining at the entrance area, walking around, yelling and cussing while doing so. Traffic is still progressing on Alvarado, and then I see a clear enough path where I can walk toward the, I want to say back portion, but if you know the fork at the entrance, I go down the left side in order to get to my apartment. All right, the entity is sounding sirens. This is criminal summoning. They're monitoring. Teresa Becerra is monitoring. Maria Solis, Speaker Companies, is monitoring. Carlo Lopez is monitoring. And this is a demon. This is a psychopath. This is an entity asking me questions that it knows the answers to. She's going to federal prison.
Not Jacqueline.
Teresa Becerra is going to federal prison. Excuse me?
These You said there was a third daughter at the scene.
Yes. I'm assuming that that's a daughter. I don't know.
And at what point did you see her? At what point did you see the third daughter?
So I saw this third female while I was walking back toward my apartment. So I had to cross the street. I'm walking uphill to get to the property driveway to walk on the side toward the left in order to go toward the my apartment, which is in building 1806. And so there's a vehicle that's parked along that side as well, which was not there before. So she's walking away from this vehicle. So I'm making a reasonable assumption that that's her vehicle that was parked there that I did not see before. And she's walking away from the vehicle. She's walking in front of me and doing so. She's yelling, she's cussing, and I'm walking past her to get to my apartment. She's not saying anything to me. She doesn't confront me. She doesn't touch me, but
hold on. Where was the vehicle parked? On the property side of the street or
on
the street?
on the property. Along the fire lane, the left side of the property where the fork is, not going toward the right, but the fork that opens to the left. She's parked on the curb at the front gate of the property.
So you didn't see her until you got almost to the entrance.
That vehicle was not there. Again, my walk was less than 5 minutes.
I'm asking you, okay, when you were walking up the street, you can see Gabriel, the wife, and 2 other daughters standing around talking to someone in a Jeep, lingering around the entrance. You're saying that another daughter, whose car was parked inside the entrance of the property in the fire lane, was walking towards you. When did you see her? When you got up towards the entrance of the property? You couldn't see her from downhill where you started walking near your cup, right?
I did not see her until I walked toward closer toward the entrance, and then I'm aware of everyone that's there, and I'm assuming that that's their family. That's all 3 daughters and the wife and the husband. So, but nonetheless,
Okay,
you've got.
Hold on. Okay, so as you got near the entrance of the property, you could see a third young female, likely another daughter, walking towards the sidewalk entrance of the property, the sidewalk / entrance of the property, from inside the property entrance, in the direction of the car that was parked in the fire lane. And as you approached the entrance and passed, she started yelling and cussing.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. So then you continue, you pass them all, and you go to your apartment.
Correct. And they all remain to my right as I walk toward the left side and go back toward my apartment. They're all remaining on that right side, like walking around, just pacing around at the entrance area as I walk by them.
They stay to your right.
To my right.
Near the entrance.
At the entrance of the apartments, correct.
And they were still yelling and cussing stuff.
Correct.
And directing it at you.
It's reasonably assumed. It's reasonably assumed, yes, because it's following a physical attack, and then they're hostile to my stating that your father just attacked me, and I just experienced that, and they're yelling, like Jocelyn was in my face yelling. So they're all yelling. Yes, I'm reasonably assuming that they're all yelling at me. Yes. Oops.
Okay. While we're on the phone, I'm going to send you and Maria the revised write-up based on what you just said. I want you to read it while we're on the phone and tell me if I need to change anything, okay? So we can get it all finalized. Are you in front of your computer where you can look at it?
I sure am on a computer.
Okay. And you can, Maria?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. What, East Center? Okay, I'm sending it to you right now. Got it?
You
Yes.
sent.
Okay.
Flying directly over while they're monitoring what I'm typing about Teresa Becerra, who's going to federal prison. P.O.C. This is ongoing evidence against the entity. The entities, again, this demon-possessed and corrupt entity engages more of it to try to suggest that it has nothing to do with who they're literally monitoring my documentation about. So while I'm documenting Teresa Becerra, who's engaged in audible activity creation, who's engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, and she is directly implicated by it while it's occurring in the specific environment, and her audible activity maintains a specific environment, they that are monitoring on that desktop engage in what is more stalking conduct, which is further corroborating that ongoing criminal conduct that she's engaged in within her profession as an attorney. She's done with the law. Flying over my office again with simultaneity to what I'm documenting, as you see at the screen top, that's speaking to exactly what she's engaging in. It's the same thing that they are doing group stalking in the laundry room. She's done with the legal profession. And this is a psychopath that's asking me questions that she knows the answers to. Referring to me as somebody that's flipping out. I'm going to say it again. I'm dealing with a demon here. By the way, she's in the same county. Los Angeles is group stalking. The sun is not rising and setting over me. I guarantee you she's got a light source that's over her office if I drive to her office. This is a group stalker that's in the legal profession that's engaging in what is terrorizing me while she's asking me questions that she knows the answer of. You're not dealing with what is the natural. You're not relying upon the fact that I've never physically met her. You're dealing with demonic activity, and they are engaged in terrorism as an entity, as one. Okay, and this is why you have that simultaneity of conduct while engaging in what is typing about the fact that she's engaged in the elements of monitoring, acting in concert with LAPD. With simultaneity, LAPD is flying over the office again. It is evidence directly against her. You're engaged in the elements of monitoring. That's what the LAPD is doing. That's what the state is doing. You are engaged in criminally facilitating that while you create any and all audible activity. That's the criminal act. So I want to make sure that you understand that. And while the entity acts pursuant to a criminal to a criminal pattern of engaging in more of that which they are monitoring, while I speak to the criminal conduct, what's happening while I'm documenting you, Kim? The entity is providing more helicopter activity with simultaneity. While I'm typing about the criminal conduct that she's engaged in right now, the entity engages in more of that criminal conduct. It's also occurring in a specific environment. This is the criminal system, and Teresa Becerra is a third-party group stalker. All right. And one engaging in what is documented harassment as well. She's doing so in concert with speaker companies, and she is affiliated with what is Spencer Fain, a group stalker. Okay, and also engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet. This video is 41 minutes long. This is filled with what is ongoing demonic pacing by the LAPD and helicopter, and it's occurring during the course of this phone conversation, which is facilitating the pattern of conduct in concert with the state while I'm in operation of this communication device, which all of the entity is monitoring. This is not a private conversation. She's inherently in violation of the attorney-client privilege. I want you to understand that. She's also, while she's practicing law as a professional, she's exercising her duties as an attorney right now. She's in violation of the professional responsibilities while she's engaging in a crime. You're also out of the legal profession based on that which is entirely in opposition to what you're supposed to be doing as an attorney. She's engaging in criminal activity, and she's doing it under the guise of her role as the attorney for speaker companies. So in other words, I'm an employee of speaker companies, and this is supposed to be confidential. LAPD is monitoring, and all of the people of the state are monitoring. She's a violation of the attorney-client privilege in doing so, and the entity is acting with simultaneity to what they know I'm typing about her, flying by not only the occurrence of that audible activity, the simultaneity, they're literally flying over me, over my office while they're engaging it. It does not get any more direct than that, okay? But they don't even have to do that. But like I said, this is very foolish conduct at this point. You're talking about what is outright direct evidence. I mean, of the entity's criminal system, and literally when you have the demon possessed, this level of desperation, when you are caught with your pants down, if you will, and while engaging in this criminal conduct, the demon possessed, the criminal, the corrupt law enforcement agency that is being captured, exposed, engaging in that which is unthinkable, all right, totally antithetical to what their role is in society. I'm going to let you know this desperation, what you're witnessing. They have no other, in their mind, option other than to engage in more of it, as though somehow that's going to help this person, and it's not. This is what they always do. They engage in more stalking conduct while you document the people of the state monitoring in the laundry room. And so what does LAPD do? Look at the time clock, pay attention to the documentation. The moment that I start pointing out that they're group stalking, engaging in surveillance, using the laundry room as a means of activity creation, monitoring while demons knowing what I'm physically doing, they're creating noise. The entity is maintaining this environment while LAPD is monitoring in concert to that. The moment that I document that, the entity picks up the noise creation and relevant positioning, doing it directly, okay? That's speaking to what is the intent to harass and threaten your life while you're documenting the entity who you cannot protect. You incriminate them while you engage in the pattern of conduct. In the specific environment, the state is stalking directly. Where the state is stalking directly, the people of the state are group stalking vicariously. They are one entity, and it's occurring in a specific environment. They are maintaining the specific environment in my office using the phone ringing, using the audible activity of a conversation. And while the substance of your audible conversation includes the fact that I'm flipping out, and I'm not flipping out, first of all, I'm answering the questions, and I'm dealing, first of all, with what is a demon who is inherently hostile because she's asking me questions, first of all, that she knows the answer to, which is harassing. And also they're engaging in what is asking me questions with regard to what they're hostile, because the fact that these are facts that bear negatively on them. Okay, so this is the reality of what are psychopaths. But I want to be clear, I'm the one that's physically attacked. So why would you describe it in such terms? I'm going to critique everything that she's stating while it's audible activity. She's threatening my life while she's monitoring.
Is it correct?
Okay, she's threatening my life while she's monitoring. She's monitoring while you're hearing this audible activity of the conversation, while the entity is monitoring what I'm typing on the computer in real time, flying over my office. That's what Teresa Becerra is engaged in.
Do you have any changes?
I have not read it. I don't. Oh, on or about May 8th. Okay. Do you want me to read it while I'm on the phone with you, or would you like me to respond?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Let me grab her cell phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you not hear me? I was talking. Hello?
I'm trying to find out if you finished reading what I sent you.
Oh, I was stating I didn't know if you want me to read it while I'm on the phone with you, or would you rather me respond in email to you?
No, that's what I said when I sent it. I want you to read it while we're on the phone so you can tell me if there's any changes I need to make so we can make them.
Okay, give me one moment then. Well, you put that he tried pulling her hair. I mean, he pulled my hair. I don't know if that matters or not, but I was just reading that.
Okay. Let me find where that is.
Second paragraph, third sentence in the center.
Okay, so I'll change it to then. He then pulled her hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just in case, if you want to be specific, Jacqueline grabbed Miss Spencer's right arm. Well, specifically, it was my wrist. She grabbed my right wrist, if that matters to you, just that level of specificity.
So where I say Miss Spencer tells her again to get out of her face, and then Jacqueline grabbed Miss Spencer's arm?
Uh-huh. It's specifically my right wrist. She grabbed my right wrist. Yeah.
Right wrist, okay.
She wasn't okay. So the last paragraph, you're describing the third young female, not the last paragraph, the second to third last paragraph. You're describing the third young female, likely another daughter. She wasn't walking toward the sidewalk or entrance of the property. Well, she was walking across the parking lot. She was on the property at the entrance. She was walking across to the opposite side of the entrance. You know where the fork entrance is? She's walking right there, walking at the entrance in front of me.
Hold on, let me look at so you were already at the driveway
Mm-hmm.
when you first saw her.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Near the entrance to the property. Walking toward her down the driveway from the inside the property.
Down the driveway from. No, they're on the property. They are literally on the property in the on the black asphalt, where the property sign is that says Alvarado Gardens. They're standing and she's standing walking across in front of that and in front of me.
Okay, let me see.
So I mean, you could describe it as where is it at? She approached the entrance and passed through the song together. What did you say?
Inside the driveway.
So she was walking from the left side of the entrance to the right side of the entrance in the parking lot of the entrance rather.
Okay. And so she was walking from which side to which side?
She was walking from the left side of the entrance to the right side of the entrance, and she's crossing my path in doing so as I'm walking to get to the left side and walk toward my apartment into the parking lot.
And the family was where? Right in the middle?
Family was on the right side of the property, walking off the sidewalk, into they're walking all around. They're pacing all around in the at the entrance. Yeah.
And so as you passed this female that was walking, you started yelling. Right?
Correct. I'm not sure if I heard the last part of your sentence though, but
As you passed her, that's when she started yelling at you.
oh, she's talking the whole.
Your activity.
She's talking the whole time. She's being very passive aggressive. She's yelling and cussing at me, but she's looking ahead and she's walking past me, yelling and screaming out F bombs while she's walking by me.
And where was, I'm looking at the photo now, where was her car parked that she was walking away from? It was
Her car, she's walking, that's what I'm saying. She's walking where the property sign is. So her car is parked on the left side of the property entrance and she's walking to the right side of the property entrance in front of me, crossing in front of the property sign, like at that center fork location. And I'm walking in that direction.
her car was parked inside the gate?
Not inside, right in front of the outside of the gate. On the property of the apartments in the parking lot, it's on the black asphalt and it's along the curb and it's right outside of the black gate that surrounds the property on the left side.
Yeah, so there's a few feet of red curb that come out from the gate.
Correct.
And then it curves towards the sidewalk.
Correct. That's where she's at.
She was on that part that curved towards the sidewalk, or the part that was attached to the gate?
She's right there in front of the gate. Yeah. And I'm assuming that that's her car because she was walking from that direction. I'm assuming. I don't know if that was her car, but I'm assuming that.
All right, I'm going to send you back just this one paragraph so you can tell me if I wrote it out correctly. You get it?
Yeah, I am looking at it. I'm just waiting for Erica's response.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. And Maria, while she's looking at that, this family doesn't have a housing authority voucher, right? It's just a HUD project-based unit?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. That's better. The left parking lot entrance. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that
Right?
yes.
All correct?
That sounds more precise,
Okay,
yes.
so I'm gonna send this now, the final version of this note to you and to Maria so that Maria can sign it. She can attach the 2 VAWA documents, the City of LA rental protections notice, and then she's gonna meet with Gabriel today and serve it on.
So you'll send all the paperwork that I need, Teresa?
Do you have the VAWA notice that you have already for the property?
I don't think I have any of that. We haven't done an eviction in many, many years.
Yeah, but you guys should have your VAWA notices that go with the
Oh,
property.
the VAWA. Yeah, we have VAWA.
Okay. Why don't you send me what the VAWA notice of occupancy, right, that you guys use at the property? That way I can make sure it's the right thing. And then I'll send you the other attachment.
Okay, and then, Erica, when I go there, I need to be in the office by myself.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
no, I don't have any problem with that. That's what I was telling Human Resources yesterday. You mean when you meet with them, right?
Yes.
Are you doing that
So the whole-
today, or when are you doing that?
I'm going over there today.
Oh,
So I need to
okay.
not stop at all.
How about I take the rest? What do you want me to do? Take the rest of the day off or what?
Yeah, you can go to your apartment if you wanna. I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll just.
have to take the day off. Just give her enough time to have the meeting,
Yeah.
and then you can.
Okay, you can let me know when to come back down. That's fine.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, Teresa, can you CC Don and I mean, Kim and Donna, and then I'll get the VAWA paperwork that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so LAPD engaging in what is ratcheting up that audible activity. They're having a monitoring field day while the communication device is in operation, while audible activity is ongoing through the use of what is a conversation, in the same way that the entity uses the phone for purposes of stalking with audible activity, the same way that they'll use any sort of random number that doesn't even operate with simultaneity to my movement in the office, simultaneity to my use of the communication device while I'm subject to surveillance on this communication device. That's violating Title 18. Teresa Becerra is engaging in surveillance while she is sending an email. And I want to be clear, not only is she a documented group stalker and engaged in federal stalking, she is literally facilitating the state that is engaging in state action while she is engaged in the elements. And this is what is so phenomenal about documenting the P.O.C, because this is what the people of the state are always doing. They are literally engaging in the criminal activity together, serving for what is the ongoing evidence against itself. Okay, the pattern of conduct is occurring in the very specific environment, and then in that specific environment, you have the phenomenal provision of evidence. The entity is acting on behalf of that state that is in the same evidence, engaging in the criminal system. This is the entity that it's acting in concert with, and Teresa Becerra is doing this within the exercise of her duties as an officer of the court. Okay, so she's engaging in what is the practice of law while she is group stalking, engaging in what is domestic terrorism while she's engaged in the creation of conversation. And I want to be clear, there is no reasonable grounds to claim, oh, I ignorantly created audible activity that's literally threatening the life of the target individual while the entity is in real time stalking me by helicopters. This is the same entity that kidnaps, criminally defames, and locks you up in facilities while they seek to engage in what is the same demonic conduct. This is a threat to your life. You do not have any lawful grounds to claim I was ignorantly monitoring and threatening the life of an American citizen. In addition to that, not only is it not legally relevant and there is no defense, you're also understanding what is malice. This is a system that's inherently designed to create what is some false guise. These are the false pretenses. The entity presupposed that they can engage in what is monitoring you in concert with a corrupt government, and that no one's ever going to learn about the fact that the government is stalking you in such the unheard of methods such as helicopters. This is a well-documented pattern. And the entity that is also demon-possessed, exhibiting the absence of any self-control to perhaps not make Teresa Becerra look so guilty. The entity does not do that. The entity does more of the blatant criminal pattern of conduct while I am documenting it on the communication device. I mean, it is so phenomenal. I cannot make this up. The entity is literally monitoring what I'm typing on the screen. And you're talking about what is the pattern as I'm speaking to the fact that she's a group stalker and she's monitoring with the LAPD who's flying over my office with simultaneity, which is the well-documented pattern of the entity that's keeping you under surveillance, that's placing group stalking you by helicopter while engineer light is inside of my apartment, while engineer light is moving all across my walls, while the entity is keeping a sun that's rising and setting at where I live, while the entity fills my office with what is engineered light that reaches underneath into the depths of my office, reaching into the depths, touching all the walls. While the entity is keeping that light source in this specific environment, which does not change, it's not contradicted, because the demon-possessed entity is monitoring documentation. And so you're talking about what is maintaining that environment through the people of the state who are stalking in the path with light, just like you saw Waste Management do using the dumpster truck yesterday. You saw them amplifying the use of a dumpster truck for audible activity. This audible activity of the conversation, LAPD pacing around over my office using helicopter, which is also creating light activity, and it's doing it simultaneously while I'm typing the incriminating evidence that she's engaging in. I'm going to prosecute her with that, and she's also done with the practice of law. This is what the entity is engaging. You're engaging in the elements of monitoring. It is entirely criminal. You are not free to walk around and engage in what is facilitating the state's criminal pattern of conduct, and also you are not ignorantly doing so. This is how you have the people of the state engaging in things such as directed light moving all across buildings while they're driving cars. stars. This is how you have the malice of a sunrise and a sunset at one address. This is how you have the malice as you're looking at the evidence of LAPD flying directly over my head at 6 p.m. on May 14, 2024, when you're looking at the impossible occurrence of a sunset, an engineered light that's magnified on site underneath my bed, but as you've seen it behind my headboard, underneath and appearing magnified in size on my bedroom wall. All of that's engineered light. You're not forgetting the ongoing evidence, the ongoing criminal system that's underway, and then I'm showing you what's the same exact criminal system that's underway while somebody that calls himself an officer of the court, whose audible activity, by the way, is harassing on its face. All right. But this is a demon that's exhibiting very mild, subtle signs of hostility while she's engaged in what is monitoring me. While the entity is group stalking in the path by helicopter, while the entity is providing ongoing amplification, engaged in federal stalking together with the state, engaged in what is group stalking together, audible activity creation. While the entity is in relevant position, pacing around in a helicopter and light activity is ongoing. The entity is engaging in the ongoing elements together. And I'm just going to isolate the analysis to Teresa Becerra, her contribution to that criminal conduct that I just captured on video. And in addition to that, this is hostility, and this is the evidence within a long documented body. So the entity is sounding helicopter activity as I'm capturing. This is state action. When the entity uses helicopters, the entity is sounding sirens at 12:11 p.m., at 12:20 p.m. And in between that, I captured helicopter activity at more than one time, but I wanted to write it down so you're looking at and realizing what the entity is doing in real time. But throughout this video, you will see and you'll recall, because I'm pointing it out. I'm stepping out of the office and you're looking at the helicopter activity, which is necessarily amplified in volume, while I can hear it in my office, and the LAPD appears to be at a great distance on the opposite side of the hillside. That's impossible audible activity. Speaking to what the entity is engaging in, you are not ignorantly engaging in that demonic behavioral pattern. You are not ignorantly engaging in the pattern of conduct while the entity provides the ongoing evidence against its criminal co-conspirator. You do not have any appearance of being some sort of exception because you're an officer of the court. Let me be clear. The officers of the court at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court engaged in kidnapping as an entity, using their positions in the legal profession to kidnap in concert with these corrupt law enforcement agencies who do not have any probable cause. They do not have any reasonable suspicion. They're monitoring with the people of the state. Take away the fact that she's an officer of the court for a second. They're making up information. They're malicious actors. They're monitoring together, and then you're understanding what is the malice of one that happens to be in the legal profession who is monitoring on a communication device while literally the entity is flying circles over my office, targeting together. She's engaged in federal stalking in concert with the state. That in and of itself, with regard to the severity, where you're engaged in state surveillance with the state, that's grounds of federal prison. Okay. You are also engaged in the entity that's group stalking is engaged in federal stalking. You are group stalking while you're creating audible activity, while you are in relevant position, while you are creating any sort of audible activity creation, light activity, visible activity, sensational activity. LAPD is covering both of those while she's creating audible activity. And this is just the analysis of her federal prosecution. That's group stalking. And there is no legal argument outside of that. And there is no argument stating that it doesn't exist. This is what the P.O.C. serves for. Okay, so I want to be clear. In addition to that, she is, not just the LAPD, she is monitoring in concert with the LAPD, who knows exactly what I'm typing about her while I'm on her website, identifying her by name, by a firm, and by image. And as I type the fact that she's group stalking with LAPD, who's targeting by flying over my office, what does the LAPD do in real time? Rewind the tape, take a look at it, because I step outside and they're flying directly over my office. She's going to federal prison. That is criminal cooperation. That's as criminal as Carlo Lopez being at this property, crossing path right in front of my face with that corrupt law enforcement agency. That's as criminal. They're engaging in the elements of monitoring together as well. So you need to open your mind and understand what group stalking is. It's elements. You can engage in the elements in a multitude of different ways. Okay. And they're all demons doing that on an ongoing basis with real-time knowledge of everything you're doing on the internet. And then the demons are so psychotic and so delusional to engage in it again, as though that's going to help the criminal co-conspirator. It's not. It's not. It's not. This is revealing the mental illness. This is the mental illness. This is the public safety concern. And you have demons, which is legally relevant, very highly malicious actors. She is inherently in violation of the professional codes of conduct while she's monitoring and exercising her duty as an officer of the court. And this is while she's group stalking and while she's engaged in federal stalking. It's a criminal act, and she's violating, because every group stalker, including the LAPD, every group stalker that is in relevant position, pacing up and down at Alvarado Street in operation of communication devices. Every group stalker, by the way, I'm monitored, and everything that I'm exposing and prosecuting is within the ongoing real-time knowledge of more than those that are just in relevant position to my physical location. I want to let you know what I'm exposing about the state of California. This is massively being broadcasted. So I'm trying to articulate clearly so that you can understand what I'm saying. This is speaking to what all of an entity knows what I'm exposing at the same time. And I'm also speaking to the spiritual implications. I'm at the same time revealing to you and making very clear what is very common, unfortunately, and it's demon possession. Demon possession is not limited to your trade. Demon possession, for those that lack spiritual discernment and do not have the eyes to see it, because it is something that you are able to spiritually perceive, and it's not some sort of mental illness like the demon possessed, who are hostile because of the fact that you know what they are and what they're doing, this is why they engage in kidnapping you. The demon possessed who are monitoring you are hostile to the fact that you know what they're doing, the spiritual significance of it, and you're able to not only speak to that, because I know that I also gave you the P.O.C, which is literally the activity, the behavior, the evidence of it that you can see with your own eyes, you can hear it with your own ears. You are literally listening to what they're saying, and all I'm doing is giving an ongoing analysis about what these demons are doing together. And you're looking at it. I'm not telling you that they're demons and I'm just leaving you to go ahead and review some pixie dust that I'm throwing over here and you got to put it together. That's not what the P.O.C is at all. You see the sunrise and the sunset while I'm at one address. You see the engineer light that's appearing upright on walls. You see my shadow that appears above my head. You see the pattern of the blinds that's appearing on my ceiling and appearing adjacent to the windows. This is an ongoing specific environment. You see them maintaining presence of path as I walk around anywhere. Somebody is always maintaining presence, whether they're trying to do so surreptitiously at Silverview Townhomes on that side of the property, or whether they are bold enough to drive right onto the property like Nova Contractors did, replete with what is light activity as I walk outside of my office, group stalking. This is what they're doing systematically on Alvarado Street. It's a massive a massive act of sexual violence while they are as an entity together engaged in the P.O.C. And it does not stop in the same way that it doesn't stop at the doors of the court. This is what Lisa Rogan is going to federal prison for. This is what Lisa Rogan criminally facilitated while she sought to criminally defame me and conceal this system. Officers of the court throughout the entire state of California are group stalkers. And I just documented the criminal activity of those who are maliciously acting within their duties as officers of the court, and they're engaged in the criminal act. That's literally what the LAPD just provided you. The LAPD represents the state of California. And the state's criminal conduct corroborates the ongoing group stalking by the people of the state. But I want to be clear, the people of the state are independently and unilaterally establishing themselves as demon-possessed third-party group stalkers while you see things such as a sunrise and a sunset at one address. While you see things such as them driving around and walking around in engineered light, while you see things such as light ricocheting off of their vehicles while they're just driving, ricocheting underneath vehicles like Nova Contractors exhibited, it's reaching in front of the vehicle underneath an adjacent vehicle. That's demonic. It's impossible. It's never naturally occurring. It's the outward demonstration of the entity. It's literally the admission of a demon that's stalking you. Yes, I'm a demon and I'm stalking. I'm monitoring you. That's what that light activity tells you. It is not stopping at one that is a partner at a law firm, which is a documented group stalker, and she's monitoring with LAPD. All right, and she's doing so within her professional role as an attorney, violating, for example, the attorney-client privilege. All right, she is also heavily conflicted while you are engaging in a criminal act against your so-called client. This is what the entity is inherently engaged in. So in the courts where the entity is kidnapping you, I am going to prosecute those that are within the position of the so-called public defender and the so-called district attorney. How you have the results of a kidnapping inside of the facility, because these that are monitoring with the state, that are in the position in the courts, they are engaged in what is the criminal denial of zealous advocacy toward the targeted individual. That's a criminal act. It's not just a matter of, I'm going to civilly sue you because of you're violating my rights. You owe me a duty of communication. You owe me a duty to let me know about the procedure, the process where the case is going and what you intend to do. You owe me a duty. It's not just that. It's serving the criminal system to facilitate your kidnapping. It is a criminal act of the denial of zealous advocacy. This is how an entity is able to kidnap you and criminally defame you. You are criminally defaming an officer of the court. That is myself. You are necessarily making up information and then denying me the ability to speak on my own behalf when these officers of the courts and the judges make up the information together. And that's after the entity is on the street kidnapping you while they're group stalking you. This is the ongoing greater context of this criminal system that's underway. It's a well-oiled machine. And I want to be clear, it's a demon-possessed entity. They're demons of the corrupt law enforcement agencies. They're demons of the legal profession. They're the demons that are sitting on the bench. And they're the demons that are the people of the state that are acting together with that state. They are the demons that are, by the way, organizing and appearing to create what is for you to witness, an ignorant onlooker, what's the grounds of the militarization of these corrupt law enforcement agencies at UC Irvine, for example. UC Irvine is group stalking, all right? In Orange County, they were monitoring where there would never be any sun anywhere at Alvarado Gardens or anywhere in San Bernardino County. The entity was maintaining a light source over me while I was in Newport Beach, while I lived in Costa Mesa, while I went to what is law school in Orange County. And the entity was maintaining a light source. Okay, the entity was monitoring while I was in law school. The entity was monitoring while I was in college. The entity was monitoring everywhere that I'm going, and it's not the natural environment. This is what surrounds the state. And like I said, while the entity engages in that chicanery with helicopter activity, she's going to federal prison for it. Okay, because what will not be tolerated under any circumstances, who cannot possibly be protected while you engage in more criminal conduct, any and everybody that's in relevant position, any and everybody engaging in the elements in concert with that corrupt law enforcement agency is going to serve the consequences for that. You're creating audible activity. You are threatening the life of somebody else who's subject to being kidnapped, being criminally defamed, being locked away, kidnapped somewhere in silence where nobody ever knows, where a whole entity makes up information and makes you disappear while you're in that facility, drugged up even. If you even don't end up taking your own life or they take your life, you're going to federal prison for that. That's why it's so intolerable. And I want to make sure that you understand that. This is a whole system. I'm just documenting a certain aspect of it at the people of the state level. These little cockroaches are group stalking while they're sitting around collecting Section 8. Okay, breaking the law. It goes beyond that. It goes to the professionals that are engaged in monitoring in the state in positions of power and influence to use their professional skill set to kidnap you, to violently, it is a violent act, but not only to kidnap you, but to silence you, to obstruct justice, to conceal this criminal act that the state of California is engaging in. They need the attorneys, they need the judges, they need the sheriff's departments, they need the police departments to engage in this system. And the people of the state are literally the criminal that engage in it. And this is what I want you to understand. This is how you have such a massive, ongoing, insurmountable, air solid tight system. And how do you have that? Because unfortunately, the spiritual reality is that a demon possession is very, very heavy. It's very common. And demon possession does not look like what Little Nas makes it look like. Okay. So you're giving these images, these depictions of what somebody that's clearly disturbed, because I think that young man is very clearly, obviously crying out for help. Okay. But I want to be clear. It's more subtle than that. Okay. And you're not basing it literally on what somebody looks like. And I want to be clear. There's an ongoing agenda to deceive people. And it will be based on what they look like, what they do for a living, what position they hold, how much money they make, what race they are. And I'm going to let you know right now that it is absolutely irrelevant with regard to knowing what's actually going on, what surrounds you, and what you are subject to. And this demon possession, this demonic activity has direct implications. It's a direct threat in the United States, in the state of California, as I'm documenting and prosecuting it, to your civil rights, to your constitutional rights, to your liberty rights. Okay, that's what's legally relevant. That is the ongoing intersection of both what is demonic activity and a corrupt government that's engaged in surveillance. It is group stalking, and all the ways that group stalking is underway, and how that criminal system is literally the implosion of that whole system, while you then have the P.O.C. Okay, it is currently, by the way, 12:52 p.m. I want to make sure that you document. Maria Solis is already going to federal prison. That's an afterthought. Okay, this ongoing heavy documented criminal act of repeatedly sounding the sirens. It sounds like an outright civil war is outside of my door while I'm on the phone with Teresa Becerra. That's a communication of a threat. She's in operation of a communication device. She's engaged in federal stalking, period. The state is here monitoring. You are acting with the state while you are in operation of your communication device. They're on the venue of the internet monitoring with, by the way, the masses. And all 59 units here who live here are going to federal prison for it. So I want you to, there's a whole system in operation while I am in my office in Los Angeles documenting and exposing one by the name of Teresa Becerra. She's going to federal prison. This email that she's sending, she's in acting in an official capacity. You lose whatever position that you have while you're group stalking. It's irrelevant. I don't want, not any position. Okay, you can work at PetSmart. Okay, you actually do pose a threat. You're talking about this inhumanity to human beings. I would argue also to animals. But nonetheless, I'm speaking to this official capacity attorneys. Oh, no. You are done with the legal profession. You're done with the medical profession. You're done with law enforcement. These are the areas where you are protecting American citizens. And I literally just documented criminal conduct. And this is a malicious actor that's employing her legal services to third-party group stalker speaker companies, and namely myself, while I am in real time subject to the elements of monitoring. And you saw how that all played out, sounding like a civil rights war outside of my office, with ongoing incessant sirens and ongoing helicopter activity. And they were literally flying over my office repeatedly while doing so. It could not be any more foolish with regard, and I'm thankful for that foolishness. It is providence, divine providence, because you need to understand what the group stalker looks like. You need to open your mind. Whatever you attribute wickedness to, whatever you attribute criminal conduct, whatever you attribute a bad person looks like, you need to get rid of that. You've been deceived, and I'm letting you know what controls the elements of monitoring control, and it's demonic activity that's underway, and it is the criminalization of that because the government's engaged in surveillance. And they're also engaged in surveillance on the communication device. So in every regard, I'm not only prosecuting that, but you're also relevant to prosecution because of the use of your professional role as an attorney, and you're engaged in criminal activity. You are inherently violating the attorney-client privilege, for example. You're inherently conflicted while you're engaging in a criminal act against your so-called client as an employee of the third party who's monitoring me as well. You were targeting with this third party. The employees of this third party speaker companies who I'm referencing, they're on a daily basis being documented and engaged in state surveillance with the entity. You're on the phone creating audible activity. You're on a communication device. You are also engaging in what is group stalking while you're doing so, regardless of the fact that she's in an office or wherever she's at. You're engaged in group stalking. It's elemental. It's not only physical. Remember that. Again, it is currently 12:55 p.m. It is May 16th, 2024. This is P.O.C.